everybody, I'm Debby Montgomery Johnson, founder of the nonprofit The Woman Behind the Smile, and your host of Stand Up and Speak Up, a show that is about each and every one of us. Many of us have something we're hiding, something we're ashamed of, something that through no fault of our own or through our own making we keep hidden, and that in turn keeps us hidden from each other and the world. Good people go through terrible situations. Wise people know when and how to let it go. Everything that happens to us helps us grow, and while it may be hard to see it right away, the most important thing to do is to change your perception about your circumstances. Regardless of what your personal experiences or traumas have been, this showcase series is designed to ignite the light in you, as well as providing safe harbor, education, personal growth, and resources so that no matter where you are on your journey, you'll have the courage to move on when you're ready. Stand Up and Speak Up features ordinary people who've been through extraordinary situations and struggles and found the courage to step out from behind their smiles and speak up about their experiences and the lessons gleaned from those experiences. Everybody heals at a different pace, and we recognize that. So come on in, have a listen, and enjoy the ride at your own speed.
It's another day in paradise, and I love to say that for my Canadian friends. There's no Canadians on this call right now, but we have folks from Taiwan, we have folks from Finland, we have folks from Texas, another country. Love to say that for my Texas friends. But you guys, we're coming here from South Florida. It's another beautiful day, and I'm so excited to be hosting this episode of Stand Up and Speak Up, an international version with an extraordinary advocate for change, my friend Elina Juusola. Elina, welcome to Stand Up and Speak Up.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be with you and sharing our sister stories.
Yeah, who would have figured 10 years ago we would be in this position? But, you know, it's all turned out for the good. And yeah. I'm really pleased that you and I have met through the Society of Citizens Against Relationship Scam, or SCARS.
Yes.
I'm on the board of directors. You're one of our international advisors. We've done a lot of work together. And I was just looking at the interview that you and Dr. Tim McGinnis and I did, and I just laughed. I'm like, we have so much in common, even though we live so far away from each other. And I just felt at that point that we needed to speak a little bit more, because the word's not getting out enough about what's happening with relationship fraud. And so that's why I brought you to my show. Welcome, welcome. What I'd like to do, I do this with all my guests. We're going to do this just briefly because I really want to get into the meat of our conversation. I want people to know who you are, Elina. Where did you grow up? Tell me a little bit about your family.
Well, I grew up in Finland, actually in Lapland, just where the Santa Claus is. Because, you know, of course, he's not in South Pole. He lives in Finland.
There you go.
And his wife, too. So I was born in that exactly in Rovaniemi, where he lives. And when I was 16, I moved to Australia to live with my grandparents. So I'm a citizen of two countries, and my mindset is with two countries. And I actually went to university in Sweden. So I've been in different places, have different kind of experiences.
Well, that's wonderful. So
I'm a historian.
You grew up with your grandparents. Do you have any siblings?
I have a sister, Mia, who lives not very far. Like in Finland, nobody's very far from each other.
Okay.
And I've been living in Australia for quite a while, but 3 years ago, before Corona, we moved to Finland with my youngest daughter. And because of Corona, we never got back to Australia. And now that we've settled being here. Okay. And so it's a lot of fun. And in here, I have my two sons, my eldest son and my youngest son. So, and they are living like not very far from me. So I can basically walk to see them. I am really happy about that.
That's
and
really nice.
As you can see, this is Finland in spring, and it's very, very nice. We are now having all this green here. What I do is that I take care. I'm a carer for my youngest daughter, who is in a wheelchair and has a very rare epilepsy. So this gives me time to do writing and to do things what I want to do. But at university, I studied history and business. So.
Well, you've had an extraordinary life, and I'm so pleased to hear that you're around your kids. I have four kids, three sons and a daughter, and the youngest is nearby, about an hour, but everybody else is across the world. And
exactly, I still have one daughter in Australia.
Well, thank goodness for FaceTime, and we get to see them a little bit. But
yes.
Your family was very involved in your story, whereas mine, I basically pushed them out. So let's just jump in, because I named your story "Love on the Line," which is actually the name of your book, "Love on the Line."
Yeah, have a look. Can you see it?
"Love on the Line." I can see it in the back, and I've got it out on the thing. This happened. Your story happened not long after mine did, back in yours was 2014, I believe.
Yeah.
Tell me how this happened. Let's just jump right into it, because this is a survivor story, an advocate story. We don't get to hear much from the survivors. Most folks are not like you and me, that they don't want to really speak up in public. But I think it's very important that we get the message out so that people understand it's happening to men and women around the world, no matter how educated, how well financed, how well trained we are. It can happen to anybody. Yeah. And tell me basically where you were in your life when you decided to get into an online relationship.
Well, I was not in a very, very good situation, because I was very ill. My mother had died just before that, and I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and I couldn't walk. Basically, I was so ill, and I was very depressed, and I was basically thinking that I will not live past my 60th year. My daughter both of my daughters were telling me, "Hey, Mom, you have to meet somebody now. You have to do something, you know." And I thought, well, okay. And I wanted something in my life, something like happiness, because I was so depressed. And I joined a dating site, which was supposed to be secure, because I did pay for it, actually. So it wasn't in any kind of social media site or just wherever. I had thought about it, and I joined in May, or in the beginning of the May, and I did meet some of the people. Actually, I went and had coffee with a couple of guys, and then there was this person writing to me. Well, one person was from Texas, by the way, who said he was an engineer, and he was a widower and had children and whatever, and I was quite sure he was a scammer. Okay, so I met this man. I thought he was living actually, or he was born near where I was in Australia at the time, and so I thought it was quite okay, and he was very nice, and he was in Afghanistan, and we started chatting, and he turned out to be a scammer. Course, so he became my scammer. And I think that it was very interesting, like from the behind now, when I'm thinking it backwards, I think it was interesting of how quickly, you know, your emotions change from wherever you are, like from depression to heights, and then all your, you know. And so it only took a couple of weeks before I was sort of in love, and he was telling me that how much he loved me. And if you were in the real world, you would think that, you know, that's very weird. But my grandmother actually had lived in Australia, went to Australia from Finland, and became married, and she had written letters to Australia for 3 years and never met the guy. And then she went there and got married immediately. So we had this kind of a experience before that. So I knew that, you know, you can meet people with not seeing them.
Absolutely. It's interesting. Your daughters were very supportive of you getting into this online relationship. Can you explain?
Yeah, they were. My elder daughter actually did did tell me that, this seems to be too good to be true. And that, I should be careful. But my other daughter said, no, mom, she calls her every day, and he calls her every day, and they talk, and she's heard about it and everything. But both of them and my sons, who were then in England and in Finland, they were also supportive until I sent them. I got the ask, and I sent him money. And then I asked my son in England to investigate.
Okay, hold on that thought for a second, because I'm going back to I think about when I got involved. My husband had died 6 months later. It was my friends that were saying, "You need a life. You need."
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me.
Right, and so it's our friends. I always say that we need a dating buddy, but the dating buddies need to be the people that are a little more objective, because my friends were like your family, and my mom even. I even talked to my mother, and she was so excited because one of her girlfriends, who was in her probably late 70s, early 80s, had met a gentleman. They met in person, and then they met online, but then they met in person, and they ended up getting married. So my mom's experience was positive. All my girlfriends' experiences were positive.
It was my except I had two good friends who had married the persons they had found. My son actually has married a person, is married still to a very lovely lady who he met, online. Everyone else, in my experience, has got it. Nobody else has had a scammer.
Well, that's what I wondered. Had you ever heard of online dating scams prior to your experience?
That was not. I don't think that I had actually paid any attention, and I did think, because I had gotten into a dating thing which I paid for, that it was safe. But before that, I had been in another dating place which was actually an American place, where you had to pay quite a lot. And I had met these people, and I think, like, really that was a scam. A lot of money was taken away from you, and nothing came of it, and they didn't really choose anybody who you would find. So I was quite disappointed with those two.
What is interesting, I'm thinking back to the dating sites that I had gone onto. Again, I'd been on a faith-based site thinking it was safe. I don't recall getting any pop-ups or any security alerts saying, be careful, be aware, there are scammers on sites. It's tucked into the fine print. So as advocates, I want public service announcements out there saying, especially over 50, be careful, this is happening, these are the signs. That doesn't happen on dating
That would
sites.
be really good. In Australia at that time, we had they started being alerts afterwards, and really? Because I went to this group with the police in Queensland, and there I met quite a few people who also had been scammed, and they did take it up with these dating sites, and particularly one of the dating sites started to be very, very good, and they started really finding out what's happening behind the scenes.
Do you think people really listen to tales of beware?
Well, I don't think so, because even though you say that, okay, they are scammers, and people become like, oh no, it doesn't happen to me, because I'm so good, and they become quite arrogant about it, and then they look to those people who have been scammed, that those people are stupid, to make them feel bad. But I don't think that when you are actually in that situation yourself, and you meet somebody which you don't, even if you don't see them, and particularly if you don't see them, because you can say things much easier without seeing these things, these people. And when your hormones start going up, and all these, the brains and dopamine and everything starts coming up in your mind, and you become excited, I don't think you give anything, you give a damn about them, or whatever, whoever says, because it's all about your pleasure.
I agree with that, because I remember my kids saying, Mom, don't. And I'm like, hey, I'm the adult, leave me alone. And
Yeah.
all those, in addition to the feelings of, when you're 16 and you're dating, that you're not pretty enough, smart enough, all that. I was like, okay, I'm 52. I can probably get over that. But just the excitement of somebody listening and caring. And for me, it was safe that he wasn't here because I wasn't ready for somebody in person.
Yeah.
But I wasn't anticipating someone taking it.
Yeah, and one of the things which I think is that because they do agree on everything you do. In my book, I have a whole chapter about it, how they do. They everything you say, they take a clue out of that, and it doesn't matter how long you go and what your opinion is, they will also always agree. And it's lovely hearing somebody agreeing whatever you think, and it's like, all the time. They never say no. There's never a word which would be cross. And of course that contributes to the dopamine going up and your excitement. And that also is a very good trick at getting your brain to agree.
Well, that's true, because then they start isolating you from others that are the naysayers.
Yeah.
Hadn't thought about it. You're only listening to someone that is very positive and encouraging you to do what you're doing. Hadn't thought about that, but that is definitely what happened to me. And I justified the red flags. I actually call them pink flags.
Yeah.
Because they didn't stop me. They just might have slowed me down. Did you have any times when you kind of got that gut impression that maybe this isn't right? Or was it just happening so quickly you just went along with it?
Yeah, the only thing I thought of was the picture. Because this person who was talking to me, he said he was 185 centimeters tall, which is pretty tall. That's like 6'1". And I looked at this picture and I thought, he's not that tall. He's actually quite small man.
Was he he was in a military uniform?
Yeah, in that picture. But the person was talking to me and telling me that he was like 6'1".
You were talking.
And then, so I was thinking about it, that this is not really in my mind, but I didn't care about it. I went like, okay. And actually, which is very funny, is that I used to be in women, like, the peace movement, women's peace movement in the 80s.
Okay.
And I was really, really active in the women's peace movement in the 80s and 90s, whenever we had that. And I went to every demonstrations, and I was in America, I was everywhere around the world doing it. And I rejected army people, like out of even that. And I was able to talk myself into speaking to this man, even though that he was an army person.
It's the uniform.
Like yours is different story because your family is in the army.
Exactly.
Mine wasn't. I was rejecting it, like, by principle.
Well, there's something about the uniform. It's very trustworthy. You're assuming that person in uniform is going to be someone of honor and of trust. And we've talked a lot about this on Scars, about the stolen valor and impersonation and I put a little video up yesterday. If he's in a uniform, if he pretends to be a pilot, if he pretends to be in the military and then asks you for money or a phone or gift card, it's a scammer. The military guys will not ask. They will not.
That's right.
And
that's right. I didn't think about that at the moment, like, because it was like, on the spur of the moment, and I had the money.
Well, that's the other thing. So when he asked you for the money, what was it for?
It was for, he was going to come back to Britain from Afghanistan. And it actually happened exactly when Britain was taking all the people away from Afghanistan. Okay. And he was sending some packages, and they went through customs. And then he needed the money at that time for me to send, to the customs.
Okay, so here's another red flag. Drop dead stop. If they say they have a package and they need to get money because it's gotten stuck in customs, it is a scam. Happened to me. I sent hundreds of thousands of dollars over the 2 years to get things through customs.
Yeah. Well, I only sent 2,000 American dollars, and then, like, he actually left. Or in this story, he left Afghanistan and ended up in Ghana.
Well, that's a red flag.
And that went like okay, but I still didn't. Well, by that time when he was in Ghana, when he told me that now I'm in Ghana and I'm in trouble, this and this and that was already a second scam, basically. But I didn't know already that he was a scammer. But I was still talking to him.
So when you say you were talking to him, when I say it was through like messaging, were you actually talking on the phone?
I was talking on the phone, and I was also chatting on Skype. But there was no picture because he said that was a security thing, that they didn't have or it was bad, some kind of a bad connection. So we didn't have a video, but I was chatting with him, and I was also talking with him on the phone every day.
And how about the accent?
Well, he had a very good British accent. Incredible. He understood my Finnish jokes. This is really hard on a person who would not be able to, have this language.
And see, here's another thing, folks that are listening. The scammers are not uneducated bumpkins sitting in some cafe in Nigeria. They are university trained men and women.
Yeah, and plus I am quite sure that it was not only him, because I was talking to 3 men at the same time at the end.
How did that happen?
There were 3 people like you're on the other side of the phone when I told him that this is when we were talking about marketing, for example, and when he told me that have I read the book, this one book in marketing which is used in at the Stanford for marketing, and we were exchanging names of the books which we had read on marketing. Okay. And he had other person, 2 other men there, laughing at the same time with him.
That's interesting.
So I think it was a group.
Well, I'm sure it was, and it's interesting to me that he was talking about marketing, because I remember I had conversations about business plans. We were actually doing a business plan for my guy, his business. So yes. It was business oriented. It wasn't all love. It was business. And that's why the money that I'd sent was for his business. And to get him home sooner so that we could get to meet. But it was all business transactions. But the custom stuff and tariffs and delays and all that, those are definitely red flags. So you felt when you were sending the money, you had your son get involved. Tell us how you got involved.
The moment I sent that money, I thought, well, this is something's now fishy. It's not good. And I sent all the information to my son in England, and I said, just investigate behind his back because he's so nice and everything is so good. And that if he actually is a real person and if this is true, then I don't want to stop it. And then he sent me an email not very long after that Mom, I'm very sorry, but this is a scam. And here are all the links so that you see what I had look into. And but Mom, don't click the links. Just concentrate on the good feeling he is making you feel.
What were the links?
Well, there was a link to all his pictures. Because it was where the pictures had been found. Then there was a link to people who actually had referred to him as a scammer. Not one of those references was about how, I'm horrified that this is a scammer. Most of them were like, this was the best person that they make me feel. This was they were so positive about the scammer.
So it was basically, he was sending you the proof to say, if you want, this is the proof. These are the pictures. And it's interesting that you didn't look at them.
Yeah, because he told me not to.
Well, he wanted you to keep that lovely feeling.
Exactly.
And that's interesting.
So, but in the end, I did look at them when I was writing my book. Then I went to the links and I found like, you know, the people were very impressed with his skills, and he was such a gentleman. It made them feel good. So actually he did a really good job as a scammer. He did the best possible scam, because if you, that, you know, I paid money for him paying the scammer he had to be and do his job really well.
Yeah. Well, they're experts at what they do. And if they could do for good what they do for bad, they'd be phenomenal.
Oh, yes.
They'd be phenomenal. And what was interesting is that, you know, I remember we have a mutual friend, Sharon Armstrong.
Yes.
And Sharon, when she went from Australia, New Zealand, over to Argentina, and was given that package, she trusted her guy that she didn't look in the package. She didn't look in the suitcase.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
exactly.
You know, the outside world.
And he said to him, have a look.
Exactly. But she didn't want to do that because she didn't want to feel like she wasn't trusting him.
Exactly.
And then what happens? She gets picked up with customs and a drug bust. So folks, if you want to read and see the incredible story of another friend of ours from New Zealand, Sharon Armstrong, she was actually picked up in Argentina as a mule. She was on her way out of the country to go see her guy. Her suitcase
in England.
Her suitcase was picked up by the drug dogs, and she spent 2 years in an Argentinian prison. Again, a brilliant, beautiful woman in the government, worked in New Zealand in a top position, was taken. So do not believe that you are not subject to being scammed. You are.
But on the other hand, she's now alive and not dead in some scholar in London or somewhere.
Exactly. So she's got her story, and she's a huge advocate in New Zealand. We've all connected through the Society of Citizens Against Relationship Scams, or SCARS. But you're speaking up. Elina, why did you write your book? What was the point to your book?
Well, I'm a researcher, and the researcher actually woke up in me after I found out that he is a scammer. I wanted to know, like, you know, how does it work? Why do they do it? And how does it feel and things like that? I really wanted to find out. And that's why I kept talking to him for about a month until I sort of understood. First of all, I understood that the police, whom I said I could help you, could not help me. And they were always telling me, no, you won't get your money back. I said, it's not about the money. I want to help you in finding it, and seeing them. But they didn't really want my help. And then I felt like that now it's gone to the end. And then I decided that since I'm a researcher, I should research it, and I should now educate myself about scams. And I always wanted to actually write a book, and I have been thinking of what books I should write in English. That was my first book I ever wrote in English. Wow. And then so I needed some friends to, you know, some editing, because of course I'm not really good at editing English. So I met a women's group, and my very good friend Chris, she told me that you should really write a book about this. You should. And now she was really supportive, and she even edited, you know, did a huge job in editing and making sure that the book was published. And I feel really good at that I've written it, because now I've said what I wanted to. I have actually written another book too, but it hasn't been published. We've been talking about that with Tim.
Right.
Tim. But I think that this book particularly was very important, but because it's not actually a sort of like a storybook, even if it has a sort of a system on how I survived like writing again my story in, like, in fantasy, because it was a fantasy. So I made myself another fantasy, but also it was researching things quite feministic. I think is like, from the woman's point of view of what's happened, and connecting the links together. And I'm pretty happy about it. And then it was translated into Finnish.
Oh,
I translated it with my ex-husband. We did a lot of work together, and we translated it into Finnish. And then it was in 18. It came out in Finland, and it was called Sydän Saalina, the heart as a what is it in English now? I'm really bad at translation.
okay.
Yeah, but anyway, and so it was translated into Finnish, and it was very well received here too.
So
and I did work with the police in Australia, and also I worked with the police in Finland.
So that was my next question. How did they receive you when you came in to report it, and then afterwards when you come out and you're doing all this research? How are they using you or not, and how did it?
No, I said that first of all, when I had my my scamming experience and I was taking contact, I reported it as I should. I was talking to the people, to the police in Australia, and they said, you never get your money back. As then I terminated my idea, but while I started writing my book, I actually found a group in Brisbane where I lived at the time, which was at the police station. So once a month we had this huge group about scamming, and that was actually police led. And there was a very nice officer who came pretty much involved, and we had all these lecturers coming in and talking about scams and everything around it in Brisbane. We also had a big seminar where, for example, our New Zealand friend came and gave a speech, and we were all there, in this seminar, because they've done quite a lot of research at the university about scamming. And I met all these people. And so it became like everyday life for me. And through that, I feel I was surviving much better, that I wanted to talk about it to other people, and I wanted it to be public. And so I can say that the police then, after this group started working very well, but of course the money ran out, and now they don't have the group anymore. So, and also there was a TV program at the time about scamming. And so it was quite much a topic in Australia. When I came to Finland, Finland is much smaller. It's like 5.5 million people here, and everything is very concentrated. So you just meet one person, you need to just know one police officer who's taking care of these things, It's not like in Australia or in America, where every state has every other law. In here, it's only one law. And they are very helpful.
That's important, because both of us have been confronted with the victim blame, the victim shame. And I found that shuts people down faster than any other thing that happened in the scam.
Well, the thing is that what I found is that it's the social media is the worst. Mm. And I belong to the group in here where, people who were born in the 50s. And I put out it was my ex-husband who put this posting about the book when it came in. And you should have seen the negative comments. They were incredible. And it seems to be like, people who just want to be negative, they don't give these, and other people then can't talk to you. But then in the secret, I started getting lots of messages from people who actually had experienced scamming. So they don't really want to talk because of the shame, because they be blamed for being victims. It's just like rape. Exactly a similar kind of you have to prove yourself. Yeah, in Finland, we got different laws for rape, for example. They are now fixed that law, but it is like how it feels. And in Australia, they actually have a research done where they use the same method, where they refer to rape cases, like, in the scam.
Yeah, and we've had that discussion with our support groups too. And rape is a very, I don't know, it brings up connotations. It's a very emotional word.
Exactly.
And we're not saying that what happens with online relationships is a rape necessarily, but it is a violation that feels very personal. I mean, for me, it was, and I've heard you talk about this, it's the trust that's been ripped from you. It's your heart, it's your emotions. And it's an emotional victimization that, leads to the whole, there's so much involved physically too. And that's why it's so important. And both of us have realized is that it's so important to own what happened, to speak up about what happened and not be ashamed of it, because the only thing we did wrong was say yes to a request, either a dating site or a friend request, wherever people are. Once we said yes, then whoever's on the other end of the scam has got you hooked. They know.
Yeah, I don't know if you know about this. There's this, the concept of true believer. Do you know about that?
No.
A true believer believes that all the other people, we have been actually, like in Australia and Finland, we have been brought up in a way to believe that other people do act truthfully.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, so that's a true believer. We do believe that when you meet a person online, they're also truthful. They actually want to meet you online. They do want to, be positive. They want to have a relationship. And then they actually, even if they say that, I have a business here and can you just give me this money so I can come and see you, they believe that that's true. Yeah,
we do.
So true believer.
We do. So here and we've talked about this too, as far as, the stranger danger and being skeptical and all that. We don't have a manual for being online yet. And we want to be kind. We want to be friends. We want to have these relationships because we trust in the goodness of people. Exactly. However, there's the other side of the veil here that is evil. And they're banking on us being kind because they know how to manipulate and take.
Exactly. And I think that it will take a couple of generations actually before the young people are educated in being online the right way and being able to, it's not us. We sort of not going to do it anymore, but younger people are better. But also, as the data shows, there's a lot of scamming happening with very young people.
Absolutely. And we see that all the time now with the whole cryptocurrency and what we call the pig butchering, where it's the financial scams. There's a little bit of love and emotion involved, but it's the let's get this investment. I'm doing well on this investment. You want to invest with me?
Exactly.
And then young folks are losing it, and but it's interesting the difference of the age groups. And Tim and I were talking about this the other day, that the younger ones, if they've been taken and then you explain to them what happens, then you say, you know what, you're 25 years old. You have a lifetime ahead of you to make something good out of this bad experience. You have the opportunity and time to make your money back.
Yeah.
So don't waste it. Don't waste that time. Our age group, we're starting looking at retirement. A lot of our women are already in retirement. They're giving up because they're like, we don't have time. We don't have the time to get our money back. But my parents are in their 80s and 90s. I got 30 more years. We got time, right?
Yeah. But also there's a in the mindsets of people, there's a difference between if you are scammed like with the romance. or if you are scammed financially.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when you're scammed financially, it's more appropriate to be scammed financially than with the romance, because romance is about your feelings and how you your dopamine, but financial, that's serious, you know. And that's what you know, and that doesn't give you such feeling of shame as by being robbed of your private, you know, thoughts and your private emotions.
Maybe so, but I've got a financial friend who's listening to this show, and she was taken in a big scam, and I know she's just wigging out right now saying, I had those feelings of shame. I was a professional.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It shouldn't have happened to me. So the point is, we can be scammed in so many different ways. And
exactly.
the whole thing here is beware and be aware of what's happening out there. I think we put our blinders on. We don't want to see the bad, you know, or we think like it's never going to happen to me. Well,
yeah, well, I'm sure that, you know, people, like in Finland, for example, you talk to your friends and they can tell you quite a few people who have been, including themselves, who have been scammed by somebody who's called them to update their computer or done very simple things, but, you know, they fall on them day by day.
Okay, so that's the thing. Tim and I are going to do a webinar this weekend on those immediate types of scams, which are the grandparent scam, the telephone calls, those things. This brought up in my mind, when you tried to send the money out the first time, it didn't work. It didn't work. How did the scammer react to that?
Yeah, that was also another thing. He became quite violently assertive on that one. He went like, you have to fix it out. You have to go there now. You have to do it now. Very, very like, it was very different from how he usually was with me.
Do you think it might have been a different person?
I'm sure. Because they are saying that you have about 5 people working for you. And then, you know, other ones they call you, other ones they chat with you, other ones they do that and that. And then there would be specialists.
So there's no he, it's they.
No.
It's
no,
they.
It's they.
It's they. And
I do have, like you said, that you met this person actually who is your scammer. Are you sure that it was exactly that person, or he was one of the scammers?
Well, I know it was that one of that day that confessed to me.
Yeah.
He came up. Now, I wasn't looking around the room to see if there was anybody else there. Was so blown away that I saw this one person, and I'm thinking, holy moly, what have I done? But like you, at that instant, that got I was an Air Force intelligence officer and a banker. So all those roles came back, like when I hit that wall, when I saw him. It's like, okay, now how do I catch him? And then I wanted to know, how did they do it? I wish I had been a fly on the wall to see how they were doing it, which is exactly how you felt. You wanted to know
exactly
how they did it.
I did not care at all about the person, actually. Yeah. About the person who it was. I didn't want to see him. I had lots of friends who wanted to see them and to make them apologize and everything. I didn't care about that. I was just caring that this is such a big thing in the world, and that other people can tell other people all these lies, and they actually expect us to act in a certain way, in this particular way. We are so predictable to these people.
Yeah.
And I was really taken back by that. I was thinking, I'm not so predictable, but I was. Everyone is.
Question: when you understood it was you had been taken, you were scammed, and you kept involved with them, what were you asking? Were you trying to?
I was asking about how it worked, and particularly I was asking about how he was marketing it to me, and it went so long that we actually changed books names.
Wow.
And at the end, when he was in Ghana then, and he was telling me that he has to sell his Rolex because he doesn't have any money. And I said, you are telling me that you are a general and you don't you are asking me for 500 and dollars. And if and I said, if you ask the same from 20 people, like 20 women, you are asking them, then you make about 10,000 in a week.
Well, that's
even if half of them give you this money. And we were it went into this particulars, in particulars, and then there was this. I also did a plan for how this would go forward, because I wanted to see how long he will agree, and it went until the end. And even when I then said to him that, okay, I know you are a scammer, it was wonderful, but it's not true. He still sent me a message saying, you are the best. I love you so much. I will never, ever find another one like you.
Well, that's what you needed to hear. So you left happy. Yeah, and here's another thing. It doesn't matter how much money we have lost. Is it $1? Is it at $2 million? It's the point that we were taken for $1, for any amount of money. And we're not going to get the money back. So folks, if you've lost your money, don't plan on getting it back. It's a gift if you do. And I've seen some court cases now recently when a judge sentenced some scammers to quite a few years in jail, in prison. They were required to make restitution. Well, the scammer himself, the one little guy or 5 little guys we're talking to, they're not necessarily getting the money.
No.
I sent money to Hong Kong, to England, I never sent money to Nigeria. I never sent money to Ghana, Yeah.
But the thing is that the Ghanaian police and the Nigerian police is not wanting this money for us, the victims. They want the scammers pay taxes. So they want the tax money for themselves. That's what they're after. And that's why they are going, because we talk about millions.
Yeah. So they're getting the scammers arrested based on tax evasion,
yes,
not on romance scams.
Exactly. So it does absolutely nothing to do with the victims.
No. So payback, excuse me. But it still doesn't help the victim any, because we're not going to get any of that money back. But here in the States, if there were a way, if they could capture the money, because many of the mules, when I was in Dallas, for the court case out there, we saw the videos of them counting cash, and that money was
exactly
taken and found. But was that money ever given out to the victims? Well, we have a friend that was part of that lawsuit, and hopefully one day she'll get a little bit back. We're never going to be made whole. So the point is, how do we prevent people from even taking the first bite? How do we?
In Finland, if you are right at complaining to your bank in a right moment, they can do transactions. They can trace the money. But if people are, for example, they come from Estonia or Lithuania or where they came here, and they've taken a particular. And they have their IDs in Finland, and then they do the scamming from Finland, and then they go away from Finland immediately. You can't get your money back. But if they happen to have some kind of accounts which can be accounted for and which can be traced, then there are some possibilities here to get your money back.
Well, I sure hope so, because we need training. And I think my problem was I was familiar. I was a banker, so I knew my way around the banking system, and I would bounce from bank to bank. I believe that with training, even that the scammers want things fast. You found that, right? It's urgent. Yes. Everything is urgent, so do it quick. I remember being at the bank, and the wire transfer wasn't going through, and I was getting messages, emails saying, well, try this SWIFT number, try this, the urgency, get it to go. And then when you get it done, send me the paperwork saying it was done.
Yeah.
Well, when I did that, silly me, I obviously whited out my bank account number on the paperwork and then sent them the paperwork. But I'm thinking, oh my gosh, Deb, you just sent this guy $50,000 and you were concerned about your bank account number. He's going out, he's getting it. But the bankers, even though my friends, they were so wrapped up in the story that they didn't even question the wires. And I never wired money out my entire life. They were saying, when he gets here, we want to meet him. You know, they were right there with me.
Exactly. It's interesting. It's interesting. And then, you know, afterwards you have people who say, oh, you were stupid, and they were encouraging you.
And that's it. And that when someone tells us that we were stupid, that we should never have done this, it's easy for others to say that. And I don't know if they are trying to make us feel bad or making themselves feel a little better that they didn't do it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird, I think. Quite. I haven't figured it out yet, why there is so much resentment there. Is it because people are feeling that, you know, they are better than you, and they want to be better than you, and they can't themselves believe that they would ever do it because they are so good at these things, and they can't admit it to themselves that they can actually do wrong.
Right.
I haven't figured it out yet. Why can't you say that, okay, we all have to learn. I have to educate myself.
I do every day, because
like, you know, it's everyone's. I think that it is your duty in your life to educate yourself about this, because we're coming up with so many new technological things. Like, you know, the war now going on in and all these cyber attacks and whatever. It just came out today that that was the thing why Eurovision contest had 5 countries who were able to talk about it on the phone.
Yeah. Well, you've got to be careful. And here's the thing I like to tell people too, is like they think it's not going to happen to them, and that's wonderful. I hope it never happens to them.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It could happen to their mother, their father, their daughter, their son, their best friend.
Yeah. And I think that they should acknowledge that, and that, you know, it's everyone's own in everyone's own interest to educate themselves. It's even though that they think that they know it, there's always new information, always new technology, quicker technology, and the scammers are always ahead of you. They because it's a job. It's their job to learn everything and to be ahead. And psychology, like, you know, how the psychology work. If you say one thing, they're going to take it to themselves, and it's going to reflect on how the next person is going to be scammed.
Absolutely. They have playbooks and they sell them, and they know how to do it, and we know how to prevent it. We know how to make people aware. It's just, we've got to get the word out. And I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for what you're doing in Finland and in Australia. I'm grateful for Sharon in New Zealand, for all the SCARS organizations around the world. We have an international audience today that know it's happening, but until we are strong enough to accept it, that it happened to us, and then take our pain and turn it into a purpose and a passion, which you and I have, because I spend more of my day with the woman behind the smile and SCARS stuff than I do with my company. And I don't get any money for this. This is pure love for others, because I don't like it when I feel horrible when I get an email from someone that says, I heard your story. I wish I had heard it before. That. So
yes, and I get maybe from 2 to 3 messages each week from people who have either read my book or found me somewhere online, or there's also quite a lot of different media. It's lovely that, you know, media finds you too. So now I'm going as an experienced, knowledgeable person So and I've been asked all these questions, so it's going forward.
It is, and that's
Not like a victim anymore, but it's taken a while. It's 8 years now.
Yeah, for me it'll be 10. So
Yeah.
There's light at the end of the tunnel. So for the survivors that feel like they're still a victim, you're not a victim. Okay.
Exactly. And the life goes on.
Life has
That's
to go
the
on.
thing.
It has to go on. And you have got to move forward one step at a time. Don't judge your progress by where Elina and I are. It's been 8 years and 10 years. So if you're only into it 2 months, I'm grateful that you recognize what happened and that you're taking the steps to put yourself around people that will support you, because you do not want to be around those naysayers. You do not want to be around anybody that's going to put you down, because that will stop your progress. It'll stop your recovery. And Elina, you've recovered. At any point, this is a little personal, did you have a therapist, or was it just family or friends? How did you personally get through the betrayal of the whole
I never had a therapist. I did study about therapy though. I did it's in my second book how I did it with the different like I'm a researcher, though. I basically made a research program out of it, and I did do a lot of hours in finding out what kind of different methods I could find to become feel better about it. And not only me, but how I felt that other people also would be able to use these methods as survival. From there, and it did. I put lots of time in research, and I think that because of that, I had distanced myself from my own case and taking it as my research case. That was helped me. That was my therapy, I think.
Exactly.
With Sharon, she went to prison for 2 years. For goodness sake, she could not be involved in anything, and she basically distanced herself.
Wow.
Pretty much.
And, you hear about her story, and then that's when you start feeling grateful for your own problem. We've all been through something, and it's been very hurtful and distressing to ourselves, to our families. When you're a victim, you're not the only one. It's your whole family, it's your circle of friends, it's your community. Everybody becomes a victim when one person is taken. And so it's incumbent upon us to stand up and speak up and get the word out. And I so appreciate what you're doing. We can find your book called Love on the Line, and I can't read the fine print. It's got a long section. It's on Amazon. You can buy it on Amazon.
Yeah, it says how to recover from romance scams gracefully and without victimization.
There you go. And
this is extended and re-edited. And Tim has the introduction on this.
It will be a Scars production at some point also. And I did see a remark on Amazon that said, this is a research project.
Yeah.
It's not a story of necessarily of her scam. It is a research project. And that's what you did. You researched it.
Exactly.
You've got some great information out there. I'm going to read it again. I encourage people to go to Amazon and look for Elina Juusola, Love on the Line. ...
Thank you very much.
And
tell me how you feel about it.
And you're getting more involved with SCARS, which again is the Society of Citizens Against Relationship Scams.
I am.
On an international level, we are coming at it from all countries and all continents. And Elina, I so appreciate your new friendship and what you've done. And I encourage you to stand up and speak up in Finland and in America, in New Zealand and Australia, to our Australian friends.
Anywhere I can. I am and thank you very much, Debbie, for inviting me. I'm really pleased to be able to talk about this.
Love on the Line, Elina Juusola. It has been a fabulous conversation. Thank you so much for being with us. And it's been a great Stand Up and Speak Up day.
Thank you for listening to Stand Up and Speak Up. We are dedicated to encouraging you to remove the mask of embarrassment and to being your best self. If you are the victim of a scam or cybercrime, please visit againstscams.org for assistance and guidance about options and recovery. SCARS, the Society of Citizens Against Relationship Scams, is an incorporated nonprofit crime victims assistance organization based in Miami, Florida, supporting scam victims worldwide. If you can, make a small donation to help victims around the world receive the help they need. This episode has been sponsored by BenfoComplete.com, a vitamin supplement company that supports happy and healthy hands and feet for those with neuropathy. If you or anyone you know struggles with the pins and needles or numbness in their hands and feet, check out our benfotiamine products at benfocomplete.com. Use the special code STANDUP for a 5% discount on your purchase. Again, thank you for being with us today. Go to my website, The Woman Behind the Smile, for additional resources and information. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and enjoy the replays. My books are all available on Amazon.com and Audible, and I encourage you to join us again. Have a great day.